Welcome to Westminster's 2021 Virtual Admitted Students Day. My name is Quincy Otuafi. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I have the pleasure of serving the Westminster community as the Director of Admissions. As we begin our event this evening, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the land of the Goshute, Diné, Paiute, Shoshone, and Ute peoples. I ask you to join me in acknowledging these communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. We acknowledge their stewardship of this land through many generations. Thank you for joining us today, and congratulations on your admission to Westminster College. We are so excited to be a part of this celebratory moment for you. The virtual environment can be challenging to navigate at times, but I am appreciative for the accessibility that it provides for us to connect with you from all around the world. We have folks joining us from India and Vietnam, New England to California, and of course, right here in Utah as well. I know that being in front of a screen that isn't Netflix on a Friday night may not be your idea of fun, but thank you for choosing to be here with us. We promise to do our best to make it as fun and engaging as we can. Over the next 2 days, we have activities, panels, and presentations designed to answer all of your Westminster questions. As you may know, the May 1st National Decision deadline is right around the corner, and we want to make sure that you are prepared to make your college decision. So I encourage you to ask us anything. You can text your questions to 801-618-2205. And if you didn't catch that, don't worry. It will be displayed throughout the event this evening. To get us started today, I have the pleasure of co-facilitating our first session with Alexa Price, who is one of our assistant directors of admission. We will be interviewing some of our current students who are participating in this year's undergraduate conference. Hi, Alexa.
Hi, Q. As Q said, my name is Alexa. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And we're here to chat with 4 incredible students about one of my favorite things that happens here at Westminster College, the undergraduate conference. And if you're wondering what that is, the undergraduate conference is a yearly event where students have the opportunity to share their research projects with the campus community. The showcase is a time to both learn from and celebrate students' academic achievements. These include creative, dynamic projects in research, performance, film, visual art, and more with the guidance of program faculty. The first student joining us today is Kate Blair. So welcome, Kate. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for being here. And so why don't we take a moment to have you introduce yourself and then provide a brief overview of your research project.
Sure, yeah. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here and I wish I could meet all of you, but I'm glad you're here with us. I am a senior here at Westminster, studying, I think my major is displayed, yes, dance pedagogy for multilingual learners. So it's a customized major. Which you can do too if you'd like to. And my research is actually one of a couple research projects that I have been working on this year, but this one was my senior capstone for the dance program. So it was a year-long choreographic process. We had our concert March 19th and 20th with our senior cohort, and this piece is actually kind of builds upon research that I did over the summer through honors. So.
Thanks for that introduction, Kate. We'll be sharing the links for all of the research presentations that you created. And Alexa and I had the pleasure of watching all of them before this evening, and I was really blown away by especially your presentation. And I think my first question for you is, what did that process of choosing a research topic look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I kind of mentioned, last summer, I did an honors summer independent research program. I received a grant through the Honors College and designed a study. And as my major kind of speaks to, I'm very passionate about the integration of dance and language learning. And I designed a study with language learners in my hometown using movement as a way to build a sense of community for them in the education system. So long story short, what I discovered was that a lot of these students were living in a state of kind of in between or transition. And I thought that was a really interesting kind of problem or issue to expand upon. And so I took that and asked my dancers about similar states of in between and transition in their own lives, and then went from there.
Yeah, it was so beautiful, and we're just so excited to be able to learn a little more about it. And so our next question for you is, who was your faculty advisor, and what was it like working with them?
Yeah, so for the honors piece, I worked with Dr. Annalise Cannon, who is a professor in the School of Education. She teaches linguistics and teaching English second language courses. And then I also worked with Megan Wall, who is the new dance department chair. And she mentored all of the seniors through the choreographic process and through producing the concert. And they were great, to answer your question. Both incredible mentors to me. So
Awesome. I've had the opportunity to work with both Megan, Annalise, and it's always a pleasure to work with them. And just to give a little bit more context, I think for those who are joining, I think it's safe to assume that nobody's viewed this because it just posted today. It just went live today. No one's viewed your, the product of your research. And what's amazing about yours in particular is that it's exclusively dance. There's not, you don't actually speak or explain your research at all, which I think is really, really interesting and not what you might expect at like a research, conference. So I thought that was really unique and especially like eye capturing, obviously with the dancing. My question is pretty specific. So if there was one thing that you would want folks to learn from your research, what would it be?
that's a great question. I think the challenge of an artist is to share a unique perspective or experience with the world without forcing that perspective upon people. And so, although yes, I have things I want to share through the work, take what you will. Take what you will. I think in this work in particular, this experience of uncertainty and transition that we've all been struggling with during the past year has been really challenging for me and for many of the people I love. And a large thing I realized throughout the work was that reliance on community is really essential to maintaining hope during all the uncertainty and transition. So that would be my key takeaway for audience members.
Thank you. I really, I think that folks probably can resonate with that. I know that I do.
Yeah, and I know some of your research took place, with COVID-19 happening, and so with having, performance and connecting with students, what was that like?
Yeah. Are you referring to my honors project or choreographing this work and designing the concert, or both?
I think both.
Both? Okay. So where I live, I'm from Idaho. And so that's where I conducted the honors research that kind of created the final piece that you'll see. I was actually able to work in person with students in that setting. But as far as producing the concert, that was really challenging to think about how to live stream some pieces and pre-record others. So that definitely took a lot of creative effort and reliance on each other. But we're adaptable humans, so I think it worked out okay.
Great, yeah. And do you think that there was anything about that that you learned that was new as a result of that?
Yeah. One thing that was really exciting from the outcome of having a more virtual concert was I was able to have people from all over the country access the live stream and watch the work. So we reached broader audiences, and we were also able to have a free concert, which in academia and higher education, things aren't usually free. So there was a huge issue of access, and it was really exciting. We reached, I believe, 500 or 550 people with our work. Yeah, so, and that's unprecedented for Westminster Performing Arts, I think, particularly the dance program. So that was really something I learned, was that virtual has different benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perspective.
So, Kate, you are nearing the end of your career here or your time here at Westminster, and that doesn't mean that you won't continue to be part of the community as an alum and in other capacities. But I'm interested in knowing what's next for you. What are you hoping to do next on your path?
Thanks for that question. Yeah, ironically, I'm actually staying at Westminster. Big Westminster fan. I am going to graduate school here in the Master's in the Art of Teaching program. I know Alexa, I think, is doing that program as well. Maybe the MED. Anyway, so yeah, I will be starting that May 10th. So I think I get 2 days off. Then right through.
Yeah, sometimes there's benefits to just kind of getting straight through it, right?
Yeah, definitely. But
how exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Alexa, sorry, I was speaking over you for a moment.
Oh, no, don't worry. I was just saying, I think I'll see Kate in May, so.
I think one of the final questions that we have for you this evening is, kind of full circle as you near the end of your undergraduate experience with Westminster, but not the end of your educational journey at Westminster. I'm going to ask that you think back to the time when you were just making your college selection, where most of our folks joining us tonight are at. Can you tell us what led you to choose Westminster College?
Definitely. Yeah. I was a very stressful senior. I'm kind of a stressful senior again, but I understand your position and can empathize with it. And I hope you're all hanging in there okay and enjoying life as it comes a little bit too. But what led me to choose Westminster was definitely the community piece, the small community. When I toured campus, as I know you might not be able to do right now, but when I toured campus, I met with the Honors College dean and the then head of the dance department, and some other folks who just wanted to get to know me and my interests and passions. And they just offered me a really unique learning experience in that way that was very particular and student-centered. And then I met other students, incoming students, and it just felt like the right place. So
I'm so glad to hear that. And, we are fortunate that for the past, since about summertime last year, we have been able to continue to host students through our campus tours, which it's great to hear that they are, effective. And we were so glad to have you tonight. So thank you so much for joining us, Kate. Congratulations on your upcoming graduation. It was great to have you this evening.
Thank you so much. It was good to see you, Alexa. Nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you so much for being here.
Good luck, everyone.
Next, we welcome Luke Vale to join us. So we'll go ahead and bring Luke on. Wonderful. Get this sorted perfectly. So welcome, Luke. Thank you for joining us again. Do you mind starting by introducing yourself and the topic of your research project?
Sure. So my name is Luke. I use he series pronouns. I'm a senior and biology major here. My topic, it's a review paper on racial bias in medicine, looking at the effects, the potential causes, and potential solutions for the issue.
Thank you.
And what was the process of choosing that like for you?
It was hard to narrow down to like a specific topic. I knew when I was looking for a topic that I wanted to do something related to medicine because I want to be a physician assistant. But narrowing it down to a specific topic was hard. And something that I ended up thinking about while I was choosing a topic was a book I read a few years earlier called Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. And it was essentially a book about how the medical field in some respects has kind of failed to incorporate people, especially older people's perspectives into their treatment. And that book like really got me thinking about how medicine is kind of flawed, because up until that point I was sort of naive in thinking that medicine, like, oh, it's like the natural sciences, everything's very concrete and easy to understand. Like once you learn the information, it's very free from like human error and things like that. And that book kind of opened my eyes to like that's really not the case. And so thinking about that, I was really interested in looking at a topic that kind of like dove into that issue of human error and bias coming into this field that's very based in the natural sciences, but still is very much a product of the human experience. And so is always susceptible to those same mistakes that humans make in any field.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I often mention, when working with students and families, that sometimes that not everyone has kind of a pivotal moment where like things are starting to come together, or your world is kind of like shaken up a little bit. Your perspective is shaking up a little bit. But I find that it's pretty common in the Westminster community. And I think it's one of the things that I appreciate most about being a part of this community. So thanks for that. I appreciate that. You kind of took us on you painted us a really clear picture. So the next question that I have for you is, who is your faculty advisor and what was it like working with them?
Yeah, my faculty advisor, his name is David Parrott, and he's a biology professor here. I've had a few classes with him over the course of the 4 years being here, which is really nice. And that's made it a really nice time having him as an advisor because I already know him pretty well just from all the classes I've taken with him. And he's been like very supportive. He's always offering to answer questions and give feedback on stuff, which is really nice. And like I always wish like I took advantage of it more because he's so nice about it. But yeah, it's been a really positive experience, and I definitely feel like I have somebody who I can always turn to for advice on things like that, which has been really nice.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. And I think that kind of fits well with the next question I have for you, which is, what was the most challenging part of the research process for you? And maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that support from your professor as well as the community too.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. I think the hardest part was just making like the presentation and the video that I did for the undergrad conference. That was not something I'd ever really done before. Like I haven't ever made a presentation on a paper. So that was definitely a challenge. And then I was essentially just presenting to the camera on my computer, which was a very awkward and uncomfortable experience. So that was new and sort of challenging. And looking back on it, there's like things I wish I'd done differently. Like thinking about it now, I'm kind of like, I think I broke like all of the rules how to make a good presentation because I put like way too many words in it and not enough images. So when you watch it, just know that it's not a great example of how you should be designing a presentation, but hopefully you gain something from it anyways. But yeah, it was really helpful to hear some tips from David Parrott, and then also Richard Bardenhausen, who I've consulted with through honors because we have a separate capstone class where we're in a little cohort with other peers who are doing their capstone projects. So I've gotten like a lot of tips on doing things like that from peers and then those two advisors, which has been really helpful through that process.
Great, and we watched it, so I'll politely dispute that it's not a good example because it was a really incredible presentation to watch.
Thank you.
I will echo exactly what Alexa is saying. I thought it was fantastic and really thought-provoking, and I think the way that you organized your presentation was really helpful because it was clear about what you were what you were identifying, the research that you were using, and what it was describing. And so, anyway, I agree.
Thank you.
I'm really fascinated by this this project that you did. Especially as a woman of color, and the way that I interact with my physicians is I found that really insightful and really encouraging that folks like you are engaged in doing this work and committed to doing it. So I just wanted to give a moment of appreciation that you are engaging in this work, because it can be tough when you're talking about when you're questioning these social norms that we've come to think of as normal. And so just a little thank you there, but to kind of get us back on track on some of these questions, because I'm really also interested in knowing how you chose Westminster. What led you to choose Westminster as your college home?
Yeah, I heard the end of Kate's answer to this question, and I think I'll probably echo a lot of what she said. I think it was definitely the people here who sold me on Westminster and their specific college experience that they're offering. I remember when I was trying to decide which school to go to, I had a few interviews with a few different schools that I'd been accepted to for scholarships and things like that. And I remember pretty distinctly coming out of each of those interviews. From Westminster's interview, I remember just feeling the sense of being wanted here, like for who I was as an individual, which isn't something I really got from the other schools I went to. It felt much more like a very streamlined, they were kind of just trying to get through all of their interviewees that they were doing for that day. But going to Westminster, the questions they asked were very personalized to me specifically. And they're also just very supportive about what I wanted to accomplish in college and things like that. And I remember just talking to faculty members and stuff leading up to attending the school. We're all just very positive, and everyone is just so friendly and supportive. And so, yeah, it was really just the people and just how much everyone seems to care that sold me on Westminster.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. And do you have any advice for future Griffins or students that are going through this college selection process right now that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that made a positive impact for me was just finding that group of people who you can really relate to, who you really get, and who get you, and are really supportive of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. And for every person, that's going to be a different group of people. And sometimes it'll take a while to find it. For example, I kind of went my whole first year without really finding that group, which was sort of a struggle. And there are a lot of times where I felt kind of lonely. And for a time, kind of my only friends there were my roommates living on campus. And then a friend of mine who is a senior, I think, recommended that I do Griffin orientation leader. And so I applied to be a Go leader with the school and ended up getting it. And then that was how I found my group of people who I really got along well with. And I've stayed friends with a lot of the people I've met through that all the way through my time at Westminster. And that just made a huge difference to kind of my outlook on school and just everything beyond, because I had people who were there to support me through everything. And so that made a drastic positive difference for me.
Luke, I really appreciate you, talking about the challenge that or some of the challenges that you face is being a new student in a new space, and just a new environment and community. We often like to, ideally you come into a community and it's, you find your people right away. But that's not the experience of everyone. And I think it's important. That was really great advice and important advice for students that are considering becoming a Griffin. So thank you again.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too how, sometimes what connects us is something kind of surprising, right? Like being a Go leader is maybe something that you didn't have as something that you were definitely going to do as a student, but then you get involved and sort of that helps open up a lot of new opportunities. And so is there anything else that you're involved with on campus that's maybe like a completely new experience, something that you hadn't done in high school, or anything that you've just been involved in that has had a big impact?
Yeah, I think Go leading was probably the biggest one. Coming into college, I was definitely kind of a shy, more introverted person. And so doing that really pushed my comfort zone and was beneficial to me in a lot of ways. And kind of similar to that, I was also a residential advisor for a year, which wasn't something I was really planning on. It just kind of happened where they had an opening and then somebody recommended me for the position. And I was like, well, that sounds kind of fun. So I ended up doing that for a year. And that was also a really fun and kind of novel experience that I learned a lot from. And then working on campus has also just helped introduce me to a lot of people, and I've gotten really close with a few staff members on campus, which has also been a really positive experience and not something I was really expecting to happen. But that's just another kind of random connection that I had no idea was in store for me, that hopefully is a relationship I can maintain for a long time besides this. So yeah, I would definitely say that just these little things that you do throughout your college experience and those extracurriculars will introduce you to people and ideas that you were kind of completely unprepared for, but can really help you out in a lot of ways.
Yeah, thanks for that. Our final question for you this evening is, we know that you are preparing for graduation, and we are curious what's next for you, Luke, or what do you hope to embark on next?
So my plan, hopefully it all works out, is to work full-time in a hospital setting for a few years before applying to physician assistant school. So I know a few people who work at the University of Utah Hospital who have offered to help me get a patient tech position up there. So hopefully I'll be able to get that position within a month or two of graduating, and I'll be able to work full-time and kind of get a feel for the medical field. And then after that, I'll start applying to physician assistant school and hopefully be starting that in 2 or 3 years, I'm imagining.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your accomplishments. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And next, sorry, go ahead, Q.
No, I was saying take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. And next we have Annika Angerman joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Annika. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So to start off, would you mind just sharing a bit about your research project with us?
Yes, of course. So I actually graduated last semester, so I carried out my research throughout the fall semester of 2020. And it was part of my capstone project, my thesis for the for the Spanish and Latin American Studies major. And I wrote about architecture as a weapon of political social control, and I mostly focused on the Spanish-speaking countries, so South America and Spain mostly.
Annika, we had the opportunity to view your presentation prior to this session, and wow, a lot of it's really evident that you did a lot of research, and it was pretty, I mean, it was really fascinating. You had me in like pretty captured at every moment of your presentation. I just thought it was very interesting information. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of choosing your research topic and what it looked like for you?
Yes, of course. So as a double major in arts administration and Spanish, I wanted to find something that was a little bit of a common ground between the two majors. I am very much interested in arts history and arts management, and I do enjoy architecture a lot. And I've always been interested in the different languages, so the different ways that people communicate. There's this idea that, it's mostly either oral or written. Not a lot of people take into consideration art when it comes to language, but I do believe that any form of art is also a language. And so I wanted to kind of take that into a new perspective and research how dictators would use both architecture in a sense of buildings and having a general style, and urban planning to control their citizens, pretty much. And so I started talking about it with my faculty advisor, Dejanira. She's the head of the Spanish department, and she is way more knowledgeable when it comes to the literature side of things, and she kind of try to direct me in a path that could make sense with the interest that I had. And we kind of worked together to find a way to use this idea of language in a new way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I really appreciated how watching your presentation, it really challenged me to think about all forms of communication, like you said. And I think it's so great that you're combining these different interests that you have, and that's something at Westminster we see lots of students coming in with a variety of interests and finding really unique and creative ways to be able to connect those. And so I'm curious, in working with your advisor, what was that whole process like? Because your project goes through so many different countries. There's so much content, and so what was all of that like?
Yeah, so I guess at the beginning, she gave me a lot of freedom in terms of research, and I gathered a lot of information. And I started reading articles, I want to say in June already, because I knew that I wanted to be very comprehensive in my research. And so she gave me a lot of freedom in the first part, and then she kind of had to step in and put a little bit of boundaries around the research, because at the beginning the scope was just way too big. And she told me, hey, if you go this route, it's going to be pretty much like a PhD dissertation. We don't want that. And so she really helped me in kind of pinpointing the most important things and the ones that could actually make the most sense in the scope of my research. And so it was really good to work with her, because I managed to have a pretty comprehensive research, but that is not too extensive or too broad.
Yeah, Annika, we get, I laugh for a moment only because I can relate. When I was in my graduate program, it was really challenging to hone in, because sometimes when you go, when you start to explore research, it's just this trickle effect that sparks interest in all these different areas, and you want to do it all. And sometimes it's like your heartstrings pulling at wanting to do it all. And so it's always great to have those foundational folks to kind of bring you back in and say, this is step one, and there are more opportunities to come, right?
Yeah.
So that I wanted to explain, I laugh because I can 100% resonate with trying to bring it in, to reel it in a little bit. So thank you for that. The next question that we have for you is, if there was one thing that you would want folks to learn from your research, what would it be? Because there's a lot that you went over in your project, a lot of history that you referenced. So if there was one thing in particular.
I think I kind of already mentioned it a little bit, and it's that there's many different ways of communicating, and there's many different languages, and we should be aware of all of them, because most of the times when it comes to control, especially political, social control, propaganda, we don't understand that it's all around us. It could be, in the advertisement of the TV show that we're watching. It could be on our Instagram feed. And it could be in the building that we walk by every day. And we're getting this pieces of information from all these different fields. And we don't really realize that they're affecting the way that we interact with each other, the decisions that we make, and the way that we go about our lives. And so I think there's a lot to say about that. And I really do want people to realize that language is not only the one that we speak or that we write, and there's way more than that, and we should be well aware of it.
Yeah, those implicit messages that we are consuming unconsciously, right? That impact the ways that we interact with the world. I think that's really great. I'll go ahead and ask the next one as well, the next question. And kind of, you've already graduated now. So thinking back to the time that you were exploring colleges to attend, what influenced your decision to come to Westminster?
For me, it was mostly about athletics. I'm a former ski racer, and I was on the Westminster ski team, and I was looking into colleges and universities in the West that would have a ski team that I could be part of. And so that was my first kind of step. And then when I started looking into the different ones in the West that actually had a ski team, I picked out Westminster because I really loved the idea of a very small college where I could have that one-on-one relationship with the teacher. Because I know that as an athlete, especially, it just makes things easier. And I've struggled through high school because a lot of teachers wouldn't understand the fact that I had to travel with the national team and I had to do all these things and I wasn't in class. And so they would almost penalize me because I wasn't there. And so having the idea of attending a school where I could just email the professor or talk to them in class and say, hey, I'm going to miss class next week because I'm traveling with the team. And they usually, most of the times, they're very understanding of it and very helpful. That's what made me decide on Westminster over other schools.
Thank you. I think that's helpful.
It is, yeah. And I'm curious, what's one piece of advice that you would give to students that are going through the college selection process right now?
I would say put down a list of pros and cons and know what you're looking for. See if their school that you're looking at have what you want. You will never find the perfect school, the perfect college, or the perfect university. There's always going to be pros and cons for each of them. And it's a matter of weighing them and understanding which one is the best fit for you.
Thank you. And what's one thing that you wish you knew as a high school senior going through the process?
For me, it's a little different because I'm an international student. So I come from Italy, and I took a lot of years off after I graduated from high school because I was part of a national team. So I was a professional skier. And coming into college, especially in a different country, has been quite a shock for me, especially because I'm a first-generation student. So neither of my parents went to college, and for me, it was all new. A lot of the things that I had to deal with, I had no idea that they were either going to be an issue. So I think one thing that I wish I knew is just to prepare myself a little more for what's ahead and research, just do more research and get a little more prepared for college life.
Thank you. I think it's really helpful to know that, there was a little bit of gap between the time that you graduated high school and came to college. I think that there are a lot of students that experience that. They take a gap year or they do other things and then they come back to college. So I think that is an important perspective that you were able to provide for us. So thanks for that. I think our final question. Now that you've graduated, what are you up to, and what do you hope to be up to soon?
So I am currently working as a graphic and web designer for a ski team here in Utah, a snow basin ski team. I wanted to combine the two things that I think I'm good at, which is skiing and graphic and web design. I took the job because they wanted people that knew how to ski, because you need to be on the hill taking pictures of, training and racing and put them on the website and all of that. And it's just good to be, given my athletic experience, I can also be a mentor for the younger generations, especially the, little girls. And it's good to pass down that passion and that knowledge. So that was my winter season, went like that. And the season just got done on the 1st of April. And now I'm just understanding if I want to go into grad school. I did get accepted at the University of Utah for a master program, but I might defer my admission for next year and find another job in the meantime. I still don't know what I will do, but so things are a little up in the air currently, but I definitely had a great winter season.
Thanks, Annika. I think it's that is pretty common, right? After you graduate from college, it's the phase of, well, now sometimes it can be scary, right? It can be a little bit nerve-wracking to finish your undergraduate degree anyway, right? And then think about, well, now where would I like to take this? Because there are so many directions, and between your major and your interests and your athletic background, it sounds like you have a lot of options ahead of you. So congratulations on that. And I do see that Alexa has one more question. So if we can, I know I said last question, but we're gonna roll with it if that's okay with you, Annika.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I know we had said that, but I was just curious, since your research was focusing on different types of communication, how that has influenced your work as a graphic designer, or if it has, if you wanted to chat a little bit about that.
It definitely has. I'm a polyglot. I speak 5 languages, so I'm well aware of the differences and it could be either cultural or communicational. There's a lot of difference between different languages and different cultures. So when I'm designing something, even if it's just visual and there's no written parts, I always try to be as inclusive as I can and always try to take into considerations different audiences and different point of views to be as welcoming as possible in the work that I do.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you here, and I'm grateful that we were able to catch you now that you're officially graduated. So congratulations on all your accomplishments. Good luck on your journey. Thanks for being with us.
Yes, thanks so much. Congratulations.
All right. So our final guest that we have this evening for this session, I should say, is Rebecca Blanton. So we'll welcome Rebecca. How are you? It's so
Hi,
good to see you.
everyone. It's so good to see you.
Thanks for being with us tonight. Why don't we go ahead and have you introduce yourself and also introduce the topic of your research project.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Rebecca Blanton. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a senior custom major in global conflict and communication. And for my research that I submitted this year for the undergraduate conference, it's in food justice and working to reframe systemic solutions to solving issues within our food system. And so that is the research that I'm wanting to share with you all about today.
We're so excited to hear about it. Thank you. And so our first question is I guess our second question, I should say, is what was the process of choosing that topic like for you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So for me, I feel like it was really like kind of the culmination of the last 4 years of study at Westminster. As I mentioned, I'm a custom major. And so that process has been, I feel like, really rewarding over the last few years in terms of seeing how every opportunity that I've had at Westminster, off campus, has kind of started to build on top of like each other. And so, when I first came into Westminster, I thought I was going to be like a psychology major. And then I was like, my custom major was titled Peace and Conflict Studies. And I spent some time at one point studying war and conflict really specifically. And then it was in my sophomore year that I was introduced to the topic of the food system more specifically in a May term class. And ever since then, I've just had this passion for looking at our food system and thinking about ways that we can work to make it more just for everyone. And so as I came into my senior year, it had really been something that I was wanting to carry post-college. And so pursuing some research in this area was something that it was almost natural. It was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to study. This is what I want to share with folks about.
That's such an awesome story. And I always get excited to see you, Rebecca, because I still remember when you came to campus, or when we met, and then you came to campus, and it was just a great experience. So I always love to watch whenever the students that I work with, and really all the students when they're flourishing and finding their path while at Westminster. My question for you is, who was or is your faculty advisor, and what was it like working with them?
Yeah, so my faculty advisor for the research that I did is Marie Staniforth, who's assistant professor in the political science department. And working with Marie has been really, really rewarding. So at the end of my sophomore year, I definitely, with my major and kind of looking at the future, I wasn't sure what I was doing. There was a lot of uncertainty, which is very natural in the process of being an undergraduate student. I want to really stress that. And when Marie came in, I was kind of just not sure, like where I wanted to take the rest of my studies. And then it was also around the time of COVID-19 that I got to know Marie in a class that we took. And it's been really, like, Marie has been such a support during the pandemic, and was such a support in helping me to craft and work to create my custom major and declare my custom major. I think just being really compassionate in these times has been such the way that she's constantly been open to the situations that all students are in, and just being understanding of that has made working together in this last year has it's just worked. And I think it's been cool to feel supported by staff and faculty, even during these times that are really hard. And I feel like that's a really big part of Westminster, is staff and faculty showing up and helping us through these really difficult times. And so I just want to give a huge shout out to Marie for being a big supporter of mine in this last year.
Yeah, Rebecca, I think it's interesting that you talk about it's totally normal to kind of feel just to feel like you're not exactly sure what direction you're going sometimes throughout your college experience. And Luke, one of our Luke Vale, who was here just a little bit ago, also touched on that very similar sentiment that, it's common that you're figuring it out. That's part of the college experience. And I think one of the best parts about the college experience is having the opportunity and the time and space and that community to figure it out. So thanks for that. And I know we have another question for you from Alexa.
Yeah, about your research, what do you think was the most rewarding part of that process? Because I know there's a lot of ups and downs, and also I want to apologize. I have a hungry puppy here, if everyone can hear that. So I'm sorry. One of my favorite parts of being remote is getting to meet people's pets, but sometimes they get hungry and noisy, so I apologize.
All good. The remote world that we are living in right now.
Right, definitely.
But yeah, in terms of that question, I think just deepening kind of some aspects that I've touched on already about like the journey of things. I would like seeing how things have built on top of each other over the last 4 years, coming in as a senior now and being able to look back on, every class that I took, every extracurricular opportunity that I explored, every article I read, even, like getting down to every aspect of just reflecting back. I think when I was going through my college experience, there were times where I was like, oh, was this worth it? Was this worth the time? But as I've come out near the end, I've really been able to look back and appreciate what I've learned from sort of every part of my experience. And as I was doing this research, I found myself literally going through all of my old files and all of my like finding like old research articles that I was like, oh my gosh, I read that. And like, wow, look at how this connects to what I know about this issue now. And looking at even like old bookmarks and being like, oh my gosh, I remember reading this article. And now I see this in like a whole new light. And so I think just, again, like trusting the process of being willing to explore things that are out there and not being afraid to just keep moving forward, even if things may seem a little like cloudy in the current moment. And so I think that's been one of the most rewarding aspects of doing research at this stage in my undergraduate career, so to speak.
You mentioned earlier that you had taken a May term class that kind of changed your course a little bit. Can you talk to us about your experience with May term? And for the folks that aren't familiar, if you can give it a little bit of description.
Yeah, so May term is at Westminster. We have our fall semester and our spring semester. And then in the month of May, sometimes going into like right at the beginning of June, Westminster hosts May term, which is an opportunity for students to get extra credits. It's an opportunity for professors to teach classes that are not directly tied to, their course plans in the terms like majors, and like classes become a lot more like interesting and like topics that you might not expect in a classroom setting. And I love that because I think you get to see like really the personality and like the other interests and things that professors are doing. And so I took a class called Sustainable Sustenance with Michael and Nina Vo in the theater department. And then the next year after, I took another class with them called Vegan Revolution. And this class involved, we would meet together, we would talk about readings that we'd read, we'd eat like food together and kind of just sit and talk. And I think just kind of the slower pace of things, but also the intensity that May term can provide, because you can really go in depth in like a short period of time, really gave me the opportunity to see what it felt like to look into issues of food. And it just really broadened my horizons in that area and was really the springboard for what I'm currently working on in terms of food justice.
And to kind of follow up on that, we had the privilege to watch your presentation, and I feel like I learned so much from it. And so for folks listening, or maybe folks that even don't have the opportunity to be able to see it, like what is one thing that you'd really want them to know about the work that you did, or to really learn and take away from it?
Yeah, I would say just like looking deeper into issues that are going on, because often we hear about things from the news, but we may not hear about the narratives from those who are often most oppressed by the systems that are in place. And so learning, for example, about solutions to things like the climate crisis and issues in our food system, and from those in as what is called by many these days the majority world. Other terms you might heard referred to as like developing nations or the global south, but the term majority world kind of highlights the agency of that part of the world in being agents for change in our world. And so looking at solutions from those areas, things such as degrowth, philosophies and ideas that come from indigenous cultures, has been like really eye-opening for me, and understanding approaches that exist to try to solve issues in our food system, and those that we should be actively supporting that haven't been supported in the past. So I'd say that's kind of my key takeaways, is look deeper into things and listen to those who have been silenced around these issues.
Yeah, that's really insightful. I think a follow-up question that I have for you, because it sounds like, a lot of this work and a lot of the information and research that you've done has significantly impacted you. And can you talk a little bit about what maybe the more challenging part of doing the research was?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely, it's mentally challenging when you start to really look into the depth of inequity that exists. And I know that this is an experience that a lot of people who, take poli-sci classes or kind of in college have the opportunity to study things in ways that maybe they didn't in high school. Sometimes it can feel really like hopeless when you're looking at things and you're like, wow, like there's a lot of inequity that exists. Like there's a lot of issues that are happening around the world. For example, with food insecurity, it's like there's a lot of people that are going hungry every day, people that just aren't getting the food that they need. But so I think that's a challenge. But then again, it's an opportunity though, because I think there comes a lot of power from recognizing the movements that are happening around the world to fight for greater justice in these areas. And I think when we focus on that, and we focus on the efforts that have been happening for decades, I think there just comes a greater sense of power and solidarity that comes for that when we're just thinking about ourselves and our own choices, we don't get that same level of empowerment. And so I think focusing on community is something that helps with that challenging aspect of looking at things that are going on.
You, for the folks that are tuned in, you can't see it, but we are snapping in the background here. Thanks for that response, Rebecca.
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks for all of your insight. And, we've got our Admitted Students Day event going on, and lots of students that are, making decisions about college and, having the opportunity to learn a little more about Westminster. And so how did you end up choosing Westminster, and what advice would you give to someone that's looking at colleges and making that decision right now?
That's a really good question. And yeah, I think back to when I first met Quincy at my high school in West Valley City, Utah. And yeah, at that time of life, making that decision, such an important decision. And I feel like I think about it, especially now in context of the pandemic, I'm just thinking about the time that I was able to spend with folks on campus, and the community and environment that like Westminster provided. It still provides. It just looks different, with the limitations that we've had this last year. But I think for me, thinking about small class sizes, I also grew up homeschooled. And so a more like intimate approach to education was definitely something that I was really seeking when I was looking for my college experience. And that was definitely really true, and kind of ended up being a really great, like that aim of wanting to have small class sizes. It was reflected in my time at Westminster of feeling really connected to students in class and my professors and getting to make just so many connections with those around campus. And so I would just advise, like, think about your needs in terms of like both educationally as well as interpersonally, and yeah, just balance that with what you're looking for. And so yeah, I would just advise you all to trust yourselves in making these decisions. Reach out to people, ask questions, and I think if you do that, you're going to be on a good path in your journey. So
I think that's wonderful advice. Thanks so much. And congratulations on your project as well as your graduation.
thank you.
We appreciate your time, and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, you both. Wonderful to see you.
You too. And so we have had such an amazing group today, and we really appreciate their time and this opportunity to hear about the great work that they're doing. And so up next, you'll hear from our Associate Students of Westminster, or ASW, which is our student government. And so we just want to say thanks for attending, and don't forget to text your questions. We've got the number below. So thanks so much, and we hope that you enjoy our Admitted Students Day event.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Claire.
Hey, Brendan.
Muted, one of those virtual things that we get to deal with now. So fun. So hi, everyone. I'm Brendan Sudbury. I'm currently a junior here at Westminster, studying communications with a minor in justice studies, and I'm originally from Las Vegas. And next year, I'll be serving as your ASW student body president. So that's our student government. Claire?
I'm Claire Mitchell. I am a second-year biology student here at Westminster. I'm also minoring in dance. I'm originally from Millbank, South Dakota, so kind of the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I'm serving as the Chief Justice next year and heading the Judicial Council.
Awesome. And I am super excited to work with Claire. Let me just say that. I'm glad she's on our team. So for all of you prospective students or admitted students, we just want to go over sort of what ASW is, how you can get involved outside of the classroom, and some other opportunities like that. So I guess to start off, we can just sort of describe a little bit about what ASW is exactly. So ASW actually stands for the Associated Students of Westminster. And through our various different branches, the executive, club, senate, judicial, and events, there's tons of ways to get involved. Some of those, you know, for all of our first year students, we always reserve 2 Senate seats in our legislative body that you can run for once you get on campus in the fall. So that's a great way to get involved. And then you can also do things like just joining a club. We have over 50 clubs on campus, so there's plenty to choose from. Claire, did you want to chat a little bit about the Judicial Council and sort of that work that you oversee?
Yes, so I will be the incoming Chief Justice. I head the Judicial Council, which kind of oversees the ASW Constitution. So we make sure any legislation that's done in the Senate is able to be carried out due to the Constitution. We oversee all club charters. So if you want to start a club, you will send documents to me and my people, and we look over them and make sure that your club is all good to go and you'll be able to receive funding, everything like that. And then we also just work to make sure that like elections on campus are being run fairly and that open offices get filled.
Awesome. Yeah, and then I guess just a little more specifically with my role as president and sort of the executive branch as a whole that I oversee, we really our work is centered around advocating for student needs and ensuring that we're doing all that we can to make your experience on campus, your experience as Griffins, the best possible experience it can be. We also oversee several different funding opportunities and grant opportunities where students can apply and you can work on projects to better the Westminster community. Some of those we've seen in the past have been Leave a Book, Share a Book. It's this little bookshelf that we have in the Shaw Student Center, which is our dining hall. And there's just some free books there. So you can bring a book that maybe you're done reading, leave it, take a new one. And it just creates sort of this continual cyclical book sharing system. So you can do all sorts of things like that through ASW, which is super awesome. And I think one of the branches that's really important for us to recognize is events. They do so much for the students. They're responsible for planning sort of all of our student events that we have on campus. We have at least one every week. Claire, I don't know, do you have a favorite event that you've attended through ASW?
Last year, probably the disco roller night was pretty fun.
Classic.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to get dressed up and just go hang out at a roller rink arcade for a few hours. It was free to students, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, that's something that's awesome with all of the events. They're always free for students, so you don't have to worry about tickets or anything like that. And for the most part, there's usually free food as well. So I always tell people if that's your reason for going, it's a valid reason.
And then this year with all the pop-ups that Isaac, our events president, has been doing, has been a super good way to keep the community involved. Those are always free food and drinks that you can just stop by, grab something, and you're entered in a giveaway. So events are probably the best way that we've built community around Westminster, especially through this year, which has been super hard for most of us.
Definitely, yeah. I think that community piece is so crucial, right? I think, you know, one of my favorite events that ASW normally does, we call them roast and toast. And so we get together in Richard Commons, which is just sort of our main, I guess, gathering space outdoors on campus. And we have some different fire pits that we bring out, and everyone's able to roast marshmallows, drink some hot cocoa, tea, other warm beverages. And a lot of times there's some live music. We tend to invite local bands to come and play. And it really is, right, just one of those occasions for the community to come together and socialize. So I think that is just such a crucial part to highlight with the event.
Yeah, and then especially like incoming freshmen, one of my favorite events during orientation week was the big block party that kind of welcomes everyone back to campus that Saturday before classes start, or the Monday before classes start. It's really like right before. There's food trucks, live music. I think my freshman year, it was a band that formed on campus, so it was like really cool to see them come back and play. And just like a bunch of games out in the commons and our green spaces. So right away from orientation, we're trying to foster that community and really make Westminster your home.
For sure. And so I think I guess just to reiterate sort of, there's tons of ways to get involved with ASW, right? So it can be sort of on that lower end of the spectrum, I guess you could phrase it that way, just attending some events, coming out and having a good time, right? Or sort of maybe on the other end of that spectrum, you could run for one of those Senate positions, join a club, join Claire's Judicial Council if you want to work with her. And then we also have positions on our clubs council that we're always looking to fill. So just tons of opportunity. But outside of ASW, there's a ton of opportunity as well. So Claire, I wonder, have there been any other organizations you've been involved with that you'd like to highlight?
So I started as a pre-health student, so I was involved with our pre-health society. They're really great about getting you out into the community, volunteering, holding events on campus. Once again, they also always have free food. So that's a really good way to get involved, is joining a club that like fits your interests, fits like your future plans. But like also it's just finding like your little circle of people that you constantly are hanging out with, and just finding those ways to connect and not like spend all your time in the classroom or all your time in your dorm room, like really embracing the culture that Westminster has around community, things like that. I know most major clusters usually have like a club, quote unquote club, that you kind of get like put into that helps you build those relationships, because your cohort that you come in with is going to be like your best friends by the end of the year. So.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important thing to highlight is, you know, we value the experiences you have outside of the classroom just as much as we value those academic experiences. They can be just as valuable in a lot of ways to help you figure out what you want your future to look like, figure out the things that you want to pursue. I think, you know, for myself in particular, when I came to Westminster, I was actually a technical theater major. I went to a performing arts high school in Las Vegas, and I had my eyes set on Broadway. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I got to Westminster, and obviously things changed. I got involved with the Dumke Center for Civic Engagement. They help, you know, coordinate and organize different service opportunities with local nonprofits. They do different political engagement and education workshops and things. And when I started working for them, I found this whole love of, you know, sort of community organizing and public service and nonprofit work that I had never been exposed to before. And it sent me on this whole sort of spiral through a bunch of different majors. I went to poli-sci at one point. I thought about doing a custom major. At one point, I even thought about going the pre-med route. So I think that's just sort of a great example of you never know what you're going to find until you get here and start getting involved. Because you might have interests that you've never encountered before, but they end up being what you're pursuing as a career and in your professional life. So I think that's just, I wanted to highlight that.
No, and I like that you brought up career changes, because halfway through that first semester, I'm like, do I actually want to be a doctor? And I was considering education for a little bit. And then I'm like, no, working in a middle school kind of like put a damper on like education. But then I was like, okay, yes, a doctor. And then I worked in a cheese factory over the summer, which was really cool. And I'm like, food technology, that sounds pretty cool. And then it's just like, you have to find those places outside of the classroom where it's like, how is this serving me, and where can I see myself growing, and being able to like recognize that plans change, that you can start on a track and then all of a sudden you're doing a complete 180 from what you thought you'd like. So my advice is just like be flexible in what you do inside and outside the classroom, and really find those ways to thrive.
Definitely. And I think in this conversation about, you know, changes and switching what you're doing, Westminster is such a great community because you'll have support through all of it. I've spent countless hours in my advisor's offices maybe pre-breakdown, just trying to get their advice, trying to figure out what my next step will be. But at every step of the way, I never felt like I was alone in the process. I always felt like there was someone that I could turn to maybe not even give me advice, but just be someone that could listen and make me feel validated, right? And I think that's what's really special about us being such a small student body in such a small school.
Yeah, and you said your advisors, they're some of the best resources that we have on campus. Like I said, I started off pre-med, and when I had told that advisor, I'm like, hey, not really feeling this whole doctor thing anymore, she was right there supporting me. Like, who can I get you connected to that'll better serve you, and making those connections, along with like just all the resources we have across campus, from our Dumke Center to our Dean of Students office, and all these other places that are really here to see you succeed and move forward at the end of your time at Westminster. So campus is just full of resources everywhere you go, and you're never truly alone on campus.
Definitely. So then, Claire, I'm sort of wondering, what are some of your favorite memories that you've had while at Westminster? Any events or anything that stand out to you?
Oh, gosh. Definitely working in the admissions office. So I'm a tour guide. You've probably seen me around if like you've come to a tour on campus, and just finding out where people come from and what's like drawing them to Westminster. My favorite like memory though would probably be getting to pie an advisor in the face last year through the Meldrum Science Center in one of their fundraisers. There's just so much that I've done in my little under 2 years on campus that it's hard to choose just one favorite. But I know you're graduating soon. You've had a lot longer on campus than I have, Brendan. What have you enjoyed the most?
Yeah, I have little over a year left. It's weird to think that I'll be done fairly soon. You know, I think one of my favorite memories that I think of is late night breakfast.
That's a good one.
And for all of you watching at home, each semester during, I guess, finals week, sort of, we don't necessarily have a dedicated finals week, but during just sort of the last few weeks of the semester, we have what are called stress less events through the Dean of Students office. And one of those is a late night breakfast where the entire campus community is invited to come out to the Shaw Student Center, to our dining hall. And members of the administration, faculty members, staff, they're all there and they're serving us breakfast food. So you can, again, come get some free food. It's sort of buffet style. There's always eggs, sausage, muffins. I think we've had French toast in the past that was pretty good, so I recommend that. But it's just super fun because I think that's probably one of the occasions where I've seen the most students all congregated together at once. The building is always overflowing with people. And it's just, I don't know, there's something nice about us all taking an hour break or so from stressing over finals to just come together and goof off for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, those pancakes at 11:30 at night definitely hit different when you're studying for your finals. But yeah, that's a good event. Our president, Beth Dobkins, I think, was serving pancakes last year during it, which was pretty cool to see her out and about, like super late at night. But yeah.
For sure, yeah. And I think also, you know, there's those dedicated events that are definitely memorable. But then I also just think back to sort of the unfacilitated things that I've done. During my first year, I lived on campus, right? And a group of friends, we would all get together in the basement of Bankin, which is one of our apartment's tiled residence halls. And we'd have horror movie nights every Friday. And so we'd usually do a double feature. We'd do 2 movies in a night. I'd be there for 4 to 5 hours. And it was just always fun to come together and hang out in those very casual settings and make those memories. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, we would probably go to Dee's afterwards, which for those of you that might not be familiar with Salt Lake, Dee's is a little diner just right down the street from Westminster. One of the only restaurants that's open super late. So it tends to be the college hangout spot. But yeah, lots of good memories in Dee's. Lots of milkshakes.
The milkshakes are so good.
They are. So Claire, I guess maybe we should have talked about this at the beginning in our introductions, but maybe we can share a little bit about why we actually chose to attend Westminster.
Yeah, so I ended up at Westminster by chance, actually. So been looking at a lot of really big schools all across the nation. Looked at a few smaller schools back home, and I'm like, no, I need to be in the mountains. I need to get away from the plains for a few years. And ended up through a mutual connection of my brothers being like, look at Westminster. I stepped foot on campus and I saw Richard Commons and just how quiet and peaceful it all was. And I'm like, this is it. This is where I need to be. And then just learning about like all the small class sizes, really like drove home that I'm not ready to go super big. And I've loved it. I honestly just love everything that Westminster has to offer. What about you, Brendan? How'd you end up?
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to that old theater dream that I had. Like I said, I went to a performing arts high school. So the theater faculty every year would come down to Las Vegas and do college interviews and auditions with us. So that's really how I first encountered Westminster. I really liked the sound of the theater program when I was interviewing for them. And so I decided to come up to campus and visit, and I just absolutely fell in love with it when I set foot on campus. I think it's one of those stereotypical experiences that a lot of people share about why they chose Westminster, but it was just something different about the school that I hadn't experienced anywhere else that I had toured. It was something about the community dynamic, really seeing those interactions between current students with professors and other members of the community. There was sort of a sense of, there was like a genuineness, genuity? I don't know what the word would be, but all the interactions just were so genuine. And it seemed like everyone really just cared about each other to an extent that I hadn't seen at other schools. So it was actually after that first visit, as soon as I got back home, I sent in my deposit and I accepted a spot. And I haven't regretted it ever since. I've really loved my time here. So, yeah.
So then we've both talked about how we ended up here. What advice would you have for incoming freshmen or like juniors in high school that are looking at picking schools and everything? Like, what did you consider most important when making that choice?
Yeah, I think for me, it really came down to the level of support that I would have, especially being a student coming from out of state. Although Las Vegas isn't too terribly far away, I can take a quick trip home over a weekend if I need to. But I wanted to ensure that I wouldn't feel alone or disconnected, and that I would have plenty of resources that I could turn to in those times of need that I might be feeling a little homesick or overwhelmed with, the increased rigor of college academics. And I think also it was just finding a place that I could visualize myself in. It's not the most sort of hard fact thing to look for, but compared to other schools, I just couldn't see myself sitting in their classrooms. I couldn't see myself eating in their dining halls. And at Westminster, it was so different. I felt like during that first visit, I could, walk into a classroom and start learning right then and there. Like, I felt like it was already home. So I think just looking for those pieces of community are really important, just in sort of influencing your entire experience while you're at college.
Yeah. My advice would be find what your core values are and find a school that aligns with those, because my experience is that if the school wasn't going to value the same things I value, it was just going to be a fight from the get-go of finding that community. And Westminster just had everything I was looking for. It had that small environment. It had super open like conversation and community all the time that was super important to me that I didn't experience anywhere else. So I would just say, like, decide like what is most important to you, like value-wise, and go from there, because ultimately you're going to want to be somewhere that challenges you, but also has a level of respect for the same things that you do.
Definitely. That's so important. And it looks like we have a question that someone submitted. So from Samuel, what are some of the best spots to hang out around Salt Lake City besides these? Claire, do you have any right off the top of your head?
I have a lot of really good restaurants, I guess, right around Sugar House.
That's what comes to mind for me as well too.
I love Spitz. It's a Mediterranean street food that is so good. Sugar House Coffee, Red Moose Coffee are really good coffee shops that I love. You
have to go to Sugar House Coffee. Westminster students get a discount, so definitely check it out. So good.
There's Sugar House Park, which is a block from campus, which is really nice green space to hang out and kind of not have Wi-Fi and just completely dissociate from campus in all aspects.
For sure.
If I have free time, I like driving up the canyons. So Little Cottonwood, Big Cottonwood, Parley's. I love hiking, doing that stuff.
There's so many great hiking trails around, and just within very short distances of the city as well. It's super fantastic.
What about you, Brendan? What are some of your favorite off-campus hidden gems?
Yeah. Well, the coffee connoisseur that I am definitely enjoys going to coffee shops. my favorite coffee shop in town is definitely, I'd have to say, well, maybe it's not my favorite. It's the one I go to most often is Coffee Garden. It's right in the 9th and 9th district. And there's a ton of cool restaurants and little shops right there. So I would definitely recommend checking out that area of town. I think about the restaurant Masa. I don't know if you've ever been there, Claire. It's I think it's sort of Mediterranean-esque, but it's super good. So yeah, definitely coffee shop. I think also we have a movie theater right down the street from Westminster. It's the Sugar House Cinemark, I think it is. And that I just love going there because I love movies and it's so close.
And then through our campus concierge, which is in our Shaw Student Center, we get a lot of really good discount to jazz games. Bees are the minor league baseball team in town. The soccer team, Real Salt Lake. I just found out we have a hockey team, which like kind of hurts because I'm from South Dakota and Minnesota where hockey is super big. But super great discounts for all that too with your student ID. There's something for everyone in Salt Lake. Downtown, I love hanging out downtown and just walking around. So, yeah,
I think with the concierge, I think we also need to mention with the concierge that we get discounted ski and snowboard passes to some of the resorts. Because I know that's a big thing for a lot of our students. I have yet to try it being from Vegas and the lack of snow there, but. Oh, it looks like Audrey is suggesting Tsunami Sushi. I have heard very good things about Tsunami. I haven't been there because sushi isn't necessarily my favorite. But
it's not my favorite either, but Yellowfin in the Sugar House area. This is going to sound really childish. I swear I am an adult, but their chicken tenders are the best thing ever. They're battered tempura styled, super good.
You can never go wrong with chicken tenders.
Yeah, but like you said, our campus concierge, I'm a big skier, snowboarder, so I've definitely utilized them for discounted passes to the resorts in the area. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff to do within 30 minutes of campus, regardless of what direction you drive. So
for sure. And I think if you want to get outside of the city as well, easy access to a lot of things there as well. I think about, the Salt Flats are fairly close. That's always a fun little day trip you can take. Going up to Park City as well is super close. And they're a little, it's like their historic Main Street. There's just a ton of cute little shops and some art galleries and things. So I don't think you'll ever be without something to do, to say the least. But let's see. And so then, Claire, I guess sort of something we could round this out with. I guess what sort of advice would you give to students? Oh, actually, it looks like we have a question. So let's go with the student question instead. What do you guys think of the dorm rooms, so our residence halls? Claire, do you want to start us off with that, or I can? Either way.
You can.
Okay, for sure. So with our residence halls and living on campus, we have two styles, I guess, just to give you some information beforehand. We have the traditional style, which is sort of, that classic college living. There's normally 2 students per room. You have a communal restroom that you use. And then our apartment style is a little different. Every student has their own personal bedroom, but you're in an apartment with 5 other students. And within that apartment, you have a living room and a kitchen and some private bathrooms as well. And during my first 2 years on campus, I lived in our apartment style. Looks like we might have lost Claire. Hopefully she'll get back on here with us. But I lived in the apartment style my first and second year, and I really enjoyed that experience. Welcome back, Claire.
I'm so sorry. I hit the wrong button.
You're good. It happens again, that virtual life that we're living. But I really enjoyed my experience living on campus. I think really what made my experience in the apartment style so successful was putting myself out in the community and getting involved that way and meeting folks. as well as having the support of my RAs. So I don't know, Claire, what was your experience living on campus?
So I lived in traditional style my first year. I loved it. I'm still really close with a lot of the people on my floor. Highly encourage all freshmen to try traditional at least one semester. You really, really do build a community really fast. I currently live at Westminster on the drop, and I love it just as much. So
I just want to add that honestly, if I could go back and do my first year over again, I would choose to live in the traditional style because I spent majority of my time over there anyways, just because that's where the majority of the first year class lives. So you'll probably find yourself over there hanging out with friends regardless.
Yeah.
And then it looks like we have one more question. Are there any opportunities for collegiate debate? Which I have information on this, Claire, if you don't.
I have a little, so we'll give your take on it first.
Sure. So we don't necessarily have, a debate team or like a debate club necessarily. In the past, though, we have had students that have participated in, it's called the Ethics Bowl, I believe. And so they get together and it's sort of like debating in a sense. You're discussing, I guess it is debate, but it's just based around ethics. But you're sort of arguing for a different side of an ethical issue. So there is that opportunity. But Claire, did you have additional insight beyond that?
Yeah, so I was a debater in high school, and I was connected with the middle school I worked at last year, and kind of did a little bit of assistant coaching. So there's people on campus that could get you connected to debate advisors at high schools, middle schools, things like that. If you don't have we don't have that direct team, but if you're still interested in being a part of NSBA especially, you have that opportunity to help assist and coach and judge tournaments in Salt Lake if you want. So yeah, there's that opportunity as well. So
that's super awesome. I was not aware of that, but that's fantastic. That's awesome. I think it is super cool with how small we are, those opportunities we have to connect with local organizations, especially with high schools and middle schools, even elementary schools. We have a lot of groups on campus that do mentoring or helping tutor or different things like that. So it's really cool how connected we are with the community. It does look like we are at 5:32 right now, so we've gone a couple minutes over our scheduled time, but we want to make sure that all of you watching from home have a chance to grab some dinner or something before coming back on for our trivia night later on. So I think we will close this out for now. We will be back around 6:30 to get started with some trivia and some other things. So please feel free to log back on. We'll be so excited to see you. So yeah, Claire, anything else you want to add before we head out?
Yeah, I guess it was just great to connect with all of you guys, even in this virtual world we're living in currently. And we can't wait to see you all on campus sometime soon.
For sure. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Feel free to reach out to us as well once you get on campus. I'm sure both of us will be happy to chat with you and help connect you to any resources you need. So we'll see you back at 6:30.
I think I'm on mute. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back from dinner. I hope that everyone had some tasty treats or whatever you were able to get to and maybe spent some time with family. And I'm a warm welcome to you back to the live stream for Admitted Students Day. So I'm super excited to be here. I think some of you might have already introduced yourself to Brendan, but my name's Harrison Casper. I am one of the first year admissions counselors here, and I'm super excited to be part of this game night tonight and everything that we've got, the fun events that we've got going on this latter half of our first day of Admitted Students Day. Yeah,
and for those of you who might not have tuned in for my segment a little earlier, my name is Brendan Sudbury. I'm currently a junior at Westminster studying communication with a minor in justice studies, and I will be your student body president next year. So super excited to be here with all of you.
As of recent, so congratulations again, Brendan, on the nomination.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Many ways to get involved at Westminster, so we love to see it. And now we will show a short message. You might have already seen it from before too, but from our president, Beth Dobkin. So we're excited to share that with you here today.
Hi, I'm Beth Dobkin, president of Westminster College, and I want to congratulate you for being admitted to Westminster. We are excited to have you participate in Admitted Student Day. We've got a customized experience for you today and beyond throughout your educational time at Westminster, because that's what we do. We give you the knowledge, skills, and opportunities to find your passion and chart your course. Today we'll give you a glimpse of this vibrant, beautiful campus, a place that students call home, and a place of connections, experiences, and traditions. You'll have the opportunity to create new traditions while you're here. You'll start getting to know passionate people who find joy in their educational journey and are here to help you in any way that you might need it or want it. So start imagining your life at Westminster. We look forward to seeing you here.
Awesome. Welcome back again. Amazing news and amazing messages from our very own president, Beth Dobkin. It's always great to hear from her, especially in regards to our student body and how involved that she can get on campus. Her and her husband, Randy. Both.
I love them.
I know. They're so good. Just seeing just how amazing of a community is to be able to walk around and just see the president and her husband walking around campus and getting involved. Do you have any personal stories with Beth, Brendan, that you would like to share?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to get to, I think, know Beth a little bit better than some students might, just due to my work with ASW. But she's just such a great individual. I look up to her in a lot of ways, and she's always so caring and looking out for the student experience. And Randy, her husband, the first dude, as we call him, he's just always so fun. Great to sit down and have conversations with when I see him in Bassus and such. So just great people.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. Anytime I get the chance to interact with them, whether it be in a town hall meeting or whether it be something a little bit more casual, maybe at like a holiday staff party, it's always so great to talk to them. And also so amazing to see how invigorated Beth is and how passionate she is about creating a community and cultivating a community with us here at Westminster. So yeah, there is that from President Beth Dobkin. And I think that for right now, I was going to transition maybe into some slides on a little bit more information about Westminster before we get into a fun interactive polling and then on to our trivia night as well. So if everything is good, I think I should be good to share my screen here with everyone. This is my first time doing this, so I hope that there's no technical difficulties. I think that's sharing.
That
looks good.
I think it looks good on my end, at least.
Okay, cool. Well, this is Westminster College, so I would love to share with the students that we have here on the stream today, and for those who may be watching later, a little bit more about the college and what we have to offer our student body, especially us, these incoming students, for our admitted students and our prospective students. And let me get over here so I can actually move forward. So just a little bit about Westminster. Our location is so amazing, where we're located in Salt Lake City's vibrant Sugar House neighborhood. Some things about Sugar House, which were mentioned kind of earlier with Brendan and Claire, just about the different things that students get involved with on and off campus. But one of the things that I like the most is just the location, the place that we are within at the foot of the Wasatch Mountains, just right there. And then a stone's throw away is 5 different national parks 3 hours south of us. So tons of ways to get involved in our outdoor recreation. And with our outdoor recreation programs on campus as well, there's tons of different ways to explore the beautiful surroundings that are Westminster. And even a little further of a drive, we also have Jackson Hole and Yellowstone. So tons of great things. And at Westminster, we have self-reliant students from all backgrounds that seek lives of consequence, opportunities to explore, and then devoted faculty, foster curiosity and exploration that doesn't end at graduation. That's one of my most important parts that I really like to hit home for our students here, is that these faculty are so dedicated, not only to their studies and what they've studied before, they're so passionate about what they're coming in with and the skills and expertise that they're coming in with, they want to share it with these students. These students are the ones that are the ones, especially students that are so involved within their classrooms. So it's really easy to get involved in a small classroom. So with the average class size being about 15 students, which I'll move forward to, oh wait, we don't have that slide, but this is a shorter version. But average class size is about 15 students. And so with these professors being so close with the students and knowing them as names and not numbers, I love the little comment we got from Samuel. It's also very close to East High, where High School Musical was shot. Also a fun fact for those listening in, there is East High is just down the hill from us. So if you wanted to go check out the front entrance where you can see the school is out scene, you know, the classic front shot of the high school, or Sharpay's locker, it is still painted pink for those who are wondering. You definitely can take a tour of East High School when it is in session. But yeah, so we're a small private liberal, independent liberal arts college founded in 1875. We do have the average class size there of 15 students. So that really creates this engaged culture at Westminster, and it not only engagement within the classroom, but engagement outside the classroom. And that includes civic engagement with other students, kind of how you mentioned earlier, Brendan, with the traditional style dorms, really breeding that kind of community amongst the students and that tight-knit community. I think that that's something that we really uphold here at Westminster, that I'm so passionate about, and I'm really happy that we can provide our students with the total student enrollment being about 2,215 students. You definitely can find your niche here. You can find other students that have similar qualities to you or similar interests as well. Maybe outdoorsy, maybe you like to stay more on campus and go to local events, whatever it may be, or volunteering. There's always something for you to find here at Westminster with the size that we have. We're really grateful for it. And then moving forward, just another offering we have is our academic offerings. Something we're super proud of is that even as a small school, we have over 50 plus undergraduate programs and 13 graduate programs that I won't talk too much about today. And we have that spread across 5 different schools. So the Arts and Sciences, the School of Business, School of Education, Nursing and Health Sciences, and the Honors College. And the Honors College is actually an alternative course to the W Core, which is our general education, or our general education redefined is how we like to call it, just because it's so interdisciplinary. It brings in so many modes of thought. In some classes, and including within the Honors College, some classes are even taught by 2 professors to bring in multiple perspectives from multiple angles. And so you really are challenged when it comes to writing, reading, critical thinking, and I think that provides and cultivates a really, really great environment here at Westminster. And some of our most popular majors being things like nursing, performing arts, biology, outdoor education, and leadership. There really is so many different ways for you to explore what you might be interested in. And that's why we also love that we offer kind of a general education with our liberal arts holistic approach, is because you can really dabble in a bunch of different things that you might be interested in. That and in clubs as well. If you ever are interested in something and then maybe there's a club that offers it that classes might not, that's also a way for you to get involved. And so that is kind of moving forward here. Another way to get involved, Griffin Athletics. So if you are athletic in any way, shape, or form, I was in high school, but I had no desire to play college sports. So if there's any students out there that are interested in athletics, that wasn't me, but if it is you, we are part of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, Division II, NCAA. And some of our most popular, even though we have 15 NCAA sports, is alpine skiing, basketball, cross country, golf, lacrosse, track and field, volleyball. Some of our club sports, if you weren't looking to do sort of the NCAA more competitive track, you can do a little less competitive and do one of our club sports, which are cheer, cycling, dance, snowboarding, and soccer. And something I do also like to mention is we do have a ski team, a professional ski team here at Westminster, and we're really proud of them as well. Last Winter Olympics, actually 10% of all of the USA ski team was from Westminster's ski team. So we're really excited about that. And if you ever do, or if you have come into the Office of Admissions, you can actually see some of our professional skiers up on the wall to the right of us, and different Olympians that have come and been bred from Westminster's ski team. And then a bunch of different academic programs and co-curriculars that we're also super excited about. So Legacy program helps our first-gen students to acclimate and to transition into college with the best possible resources to make sure that as a first-generation student, and if you're not familiar with first-generation students, although defined differently amongst colleges, typically it means a student that neither their mom or dad or either of their parents have received any sort of college education. So they would be the first in their family to receive a college education. So because that can be really scary and daunting going into a college environment, Legacy program is able to help out with those students, provide them the resources, and make sure that they aren't being left behind just because some other students might have a slight advantage with their parents already have a degree within some institution or higher education. And the Mcnair Scholars is an amazing program as well to help different marginalized groups on campus and students that are looking to maybe advance their degrees into a graduate sort of sense. So that would be graduate programs, PhDs, PsyDs, MDs, going into law school, a bunch of different things that allow our Mcnair Scholars students to usually start around after sophomore year summer to start prepping for grad school. So these are typically a lot of students that go into the Mcnair Scholars are also Legacy programs students, just because they're unfamiliar with the process to go into graduate school, just because they might not have had a model for them in their past or an example for them in their past. So this is Mcnair Scholars is an amazing opportunity that we have, and we're lucky that we have it at a small institution in Utah. We're one of the few that do have a Mcnair Scholars program within Utah, which we're very grateful for, to allow these students a better opportunity for themselves after graduation, because at Westminster, we don't want to just create a meaningful life within the classroom. At Westminster, we want to create it outside the classroom and past graduation as well. And then there's so many things else to talk about. Opportunity quests with some of our business students for them to explore their entrepreneurial interests in different competitions and they compete with each other on their entrepreneurial ideas and different ideas for business startups. And within that competition, you can also move forward into a larger competition within the Utah State area. And if you win the Opportunity Quest within Westminster, you would actually become a semifinalist within Utah's state competition as well. So an automatic semifinalist. And then the Ellipses and the Forum is our blog and student newspaper. And the Great Salt Lake Institute is within our sciences. It's actually funded by we were able to compete and get the NASA space grant fund so that we are able to fund our Great Salt Lake Institute for different research at the Great Salt Lake, which is a really fun thing for our biology, chemistry, various different science students to get involved with. Most recently, I heard one of the coolest things ever is that they took different sediments from the Great Salt Lake and they matched up and compared it to sediments of Mars, and it came to almost an exact match. So finding sediments of the Great Salt Lake that match Mars is pretty interesting to be able to see that there's a connection there. So wherever that leads, I'm not a huge sciencey person, so wherever that leads, I don't know where the next step of that is, but it's cool to see that there might be some next steps with our science students and connections with a whole other planet. And then also just various different internships and research opportunities that we offer on campus. And you can find those in a lot of different ways. You can either go work at a small, maybe indie company or a startup company, whatever that may look like for you, if that's more of your interest, or you can work for one of the bigger companies within Utah. We've got Adobe, Goldman Sachs, that some of our students and alumni have been working for. But the internships and research opportunities, about over 80% of our students have some sort of internship or research opportunity prior to their graduation. So we're really excited and happy that so many different professors have the connections and the network, and our career center as well, to aid these students in finding maybe what they're interested in. And I know, Brendan, you just recently landed an internship as well. So do you want to maybe share a couple thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's really awesome, the opportunity that we have to pursue these internships outside of our academics. I've been able to intern with U.S. representatives, as well as now working with the state government. So there's tons you can do in terms of opportunities to get connected and get that support through Westminster.
Yeah, it's so great. We love supporting the students. And specifically student life. So over 40 academic, social, and intramural clubs. As I mentioned before, tons of ways for you to get involved. Associate Students of Westminster, Brendan's part of that. He's now our fearless leader president. So we've got the ASW there, and over 100,000 plus hours of community service collectively over the student body. This isn't required community service, so this is really amazing to see as a small institution being able to make such an impact on the civic engagement within the Salt Lake community. So we're really happy our students are out there involved, making their surrounding area and nature just a better place to live, not just for themselves, but for everyone. In residence life, we kind of talked about that a little earlier. Brendan, you and Claire talked about that slightly for traditional and then apartment style housing. So I won't go too much into that, but we have that 2-year on-campus housing requirement and a 24-hour campus patrol as well. Yeah, and then student support services. This is a larger slide, so and I know that we're about to transition, so I won't go too much into some of these things, but the Ncaa Center for Civic Engagement, I know you mentioned that, Brendan, great ways to get involved with that civic engagement part, kind of where all those 100,000 plus hours come in for students getting involved in different volunteer opportunities, maybe even like going outside the state and helping elsewhere as well. So tons of great things there. Diversity and Inclusion Center, our counseling center, we take mental health very seriously on campus, so it's something that we like to pride ourselves in. Writing Center for Students, Testing Center as well, Disability Service, Learning Communities, tons of different ways that we want to make sure that our students are accommodated, they're cared for, and that they are getting the best Westminster experience. And then paying for college. So we have different academic scholarships, including one of our most popular is the merit scholarships, which range from $11,000 to $27,000 per year. And it is based on a holistic review. So as an admissions counselor, this is actually the part that I am reviewing and kind of making sure that everything looks good. But it's great because the way we review students, I'm very proud of, because we get to look at all parts of you as a student, not just GPA and ACT and that's it. You know, we're able to look at you from all angles and just be able to provide you the best coming in here and the most amount of support, especially paying for college, because we know financial can sometimes be hard. So we want to make sure that that burden is lifted as much as possible. Yeah, and then applying. You've already applied. So this is the Admitted Students Day. So you already are at this step in the process. So we don't need to talk about applying to Westminster, but just wanted to give a little short blip on that paying for Westminster. And I think that is it. So if you need any sort of contact, that is the email that you would contact right there. And then the number that you would also call into if you have any sort of questions about that. But we will move into and transition into our next part. And Brendan, do you want to lead us off into the transition?
Sure, yeah. Before we start our trivia night, we want to get to know all of you a little bit better that are tuned in. So we are going to do what's called a Menti. And it's sort of a way where you from home, you can send in answers to some questions we have and share your thoughts, just so we can get a little pulse for where everyone's at and what you're all thinking. So we'll go ahead and get started with that in just a second. It looks like they're still getting it set up. But yeah, Harrison, I think when you talk about all the different support services on campus, it really is so true. We can look at that big list and say we have all of these things, but I can speak from my personal experience and say that they really do follow through. So if you reach out to one of those offices and you're needing some support, they will be there for you. I think that was one of my biggest fears coming to college, was not having that support. So maybe I can help, subdue some of those fears for students that are out there, that you'll have plenty of it while you're here. So.
On mute, sorry. I was on mute again, just because I have a keyboard that is very loud when I type. So yeah, I think that is a great example, especially coming from a student's perspective, of just the different support services that we have. Oh, it looks like we are ready for the Mentee. Awesome. So yeah, so this is the reason why I wanted to give a little bit of information about Westminster first, is because hopefully it'll aid you into sparking some questions or some curiosities for this Mentee. And in order to take part in the Mentee, it would actually just be the directions just right there at the top. So you would just go to Mentee.com and you would use that code as soon as Mentee.com is loaded up. And you should be all good and logged in. And once we're logged in, and I'm going to join us as well to see where we're tuning in from. All right, we got some Utahs. Salt Lake, Mill Creek, West Jordan. Nice.
Right.
Yeah, and if you want to say the specific city, that'd be great.
Looks like lots of locals so far. Oh, Las Vegas, that's my hometown. Love to see that.
Local represent. I'm going to put Canada. I'm Canadian, but I'm not actually tuning in from Canada. But this is awesome.
Oh, New Hampshire. Nice.
Okay, nice. One of my colleagues would love New Hampshire and just the East Coast. She's from Vermont. And so I know that would definitely make her very excited if she was here. Nice. Oh, Kearns. Okay. Kearns. I have a couple of friends that live in Kearns, West Jordan. So all across the valley, we've got everyone here. Well, thank you for joining us tonight and spending your Friday night with us. We love that. And so to move forward, what would you like to study at Westminster? That's a good one, I think.
That is. Lots of options to choose from.
Hey,
theater, very nice.
I'm the performing arts liaison, so if you have any questions about theater, feel free to ask them. Special education, nice. Spanish, business. Oh, we've got dance. We love dance. Oh my gosh, so much. Okay. Yeah.
I love the wide range of options we're getting here.
We have a lot of dance, if that's coming in the most. Theater, sociology, marketing, philosophy. Wow, just a lot of diverse thought here. We love it.
Seeing a couple communication type things, that makes me happy. Oh, diplomacy. Interesting. Very nice.
Business, journalism, or English. Love that. Needed nowadays. All right, moving forward.
So our next question, have you visited campus yet? Have you stopped by, taken a tour with one of our student tour guides? Maybe I was your tour guide, who knows? Yeah, overall, a lot of people have. Very nice.
Awesome, awesome.
Awesome. And then moving on, where are you at in the admissions process?
We've got deposits paying.
We love to see that.
Nice. And if you're still figuring it out, take your time. You know, that's the college admissions process can sometimes be a little bit daunting. So take the time you need, take some, do some research, talk to your friends, talk to admitted students already or current students. That's sometimes some of the best advice is to talk to some current students just about what they feel about the campus, or maybe take a tour if you haven't taken a tour yet. Definitely all great options for you. And what do you like the most about Westminster? The location, nice. We love the location. The location, as I said, the foot of the Wasatch is just beautiful. You can't beat it. Professors are amazing. Every single professor I've met is probably the coolest, like most interesting, could talk to for hours type of individual.
Oh yeah, they're all so interesting and so caring.
Yes, absolutely. Small class sizes, huge. I gotta say, when I went to small liberal arts college, I didn't actually go to Westminster, but a similar institution. I think that that's probably one of the things that I appreciated the most coming out of a smaller college. It really, really helped me succeed.
Definitely.
Interesting class topics, always interesting to see what can come out of a class and the different topics that come up. And yeah. All right. Well, it looks like that now we're going to do the official transition. So that was transition into the Mentee. So thank you for participating in the Mentee. We're really happy that you're joining us from all over. That's super exciting. And now we're going to actually move forward into a fun game night of trivia of all sorts of questions that we've got prepared for you. And so we're going to actually move off of this stream and into a Zoom call. So the Zoom call link should be provided to you both within your student admissions portal, and also it'll be on the screen as well once we hop out of here. So if you need to hop on over into Zoom, and I'm sure a lot of us have Zoom just because of the quarantine, I think that we should, but if you need to take a second to download it or just join us from your browser, whatever works, we'd love to have you join us. And we do have prizes. Brendan, do you want to say the prizes?
Yeah, we'll have a few different gift cards that we'll be giving out to Target, to help you. Maybe you just want to pick some fun stuff up for yourself, or maybe to help you purchase some stuff for your residence hall as you get ready to move to campus. So should be a super fun time.
All right. And I think we'll jump on over there. So please come join us. We'd love to see you. And we'll head out from here. See y'all soon.